What is up, podheads? Back with another episode of the Podioslave podcast. My name is Tony. I'm joined by Anthony and Sean. Sean's back. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, where were you?
I was in New Metal Land.
Yes, New Metal Land. That sounds like a fun
deep
place.
into New Metal Land. I've come back to talk about the gospel of significant other, I guess, today.
Yeah, more new metal. This is New Metal Land tonight. We're back in it.
Yep.
Speaking of back, I don't know if you guys saw this. There was a tweet that was kind of going viral. I don't know if you're on Twitter, Sean, but it was like, I'm paraphrasing. It's like Eminem just dropped a new album who referenced Limp Bizkit, and Limp Bizkit's selling out arenas. Creed's back. Like, we are so back. Like, what year is it? We're so back. Baby. And I'm back too. I missed last week, but all is good in the world. Thank you, Tony and Rob, for holding it down.
There was a post on the subreddit a couple days ago of a 13-year-old asking advice for what to do at a Limp Bizkit concert.
I think I saw this.
I love that. That's amazing.
And everyone was super nice. Everyone was very nice, but it was like, because everyone's just kind of like, well, it was funny because it's a 13-year-old, right? So everyone's on there is mostly like, in their 40s and 30s and stuff like that. And they're like, hey, wear earplugs and like, just be safe. Everyone's really nice, all that kind of stuff. And, just enjoy the music, just like, get out there, have fun.
Funny thing is, I think I was 13 when I got this record. 12 or 13 when I got this record. So, yeah.
Yeah.
14, whatever it was.
Timeless.
Have you ever seen them, Sean? Live?
No.
Neither have I.
No, I haven't. And I think they're coming to Worcester at some point. So I'd like to, but.
They are with Corey Feldman. And I know Anthony and I had kind of half joked about trying to see if Corey Feldman would come on with us because I think that would be a fun conversation.
That would be fun.
Where is it the Palladium again? Because they played the Palladium.
Or the Centrum or whatever next door is.
Yeah, I think they're doing Palladium again. Have you guys seen them?
Never.
No, never have.
Yeah.
I feel like we almost went down to that tone when they played.
They were in Lowell, I think.
No, it was the Palladium.
Was it?
It was during the life of this podcast, the last 4.5 years.
Yep.
And they had, I don't know if Scowl was on that. It was that, I think during that.
Yep, you're right.
That tour.
Yeah.
And it was downstairs Palladium. That would have been the perfect place to see him, really.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I never saw them. If Nate was here, he would say yes. And I don't think you've never met Nate, Sean.
No, not yet.
He's seen him a bunch, and in fact, this might come up, but he saw him at Woodstock.
Oh, he was there for that one.
He was there for that. We did a whole episode on that with him and Rob because they were both there, not together.
Yeah.
And they were in the crowd and there for some of the obviously the wildness that ensued after the Korn set and their set and the Rage set. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that was like to grow up in that time, because like I grew up in like a small suburban town, just like an hour north of New York City. So they never kind of passed through our area. I'm pretty sure that we could have taken a train down to Manhattan and seen them somewhere at one of the venues in the city. But no, I missed them. I've always like somehow missed them somehow. But I've heard that in that era, they were unstoppable.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard too. Yeah. They came to the State Theater in Portland. Incubus opened in like 97, 98. So just before,
a little too young. Yeah.
Just before my kind of going to shows. And then, as we know, they played Lewiston. And I think that was 99, 2000. I think it was in there, and I wasn't going there at that age.
We should have. Looking back on it now, I wish
absolutely.
I mean, that the Coliseum probably, that was where it was. Yeah. Which is a famous venue as it is. I think Muhammad Ali has a famous photo in that actual building.
Yes.
Would have been a wild show. It only holds like 5,000 too. So
when I listened to that song where he name drops Lewiston, I'm like, oh, like I totally forgot. Yeah.
Right. It's always nice to be name dropped here in Maine. Doesn't happen enough.
So I don't think we have anything else to chat about. I don't think there's any current events or anything like that. I think we're going to just jump right into this shit.
Yeah, we'll jump right into Significant Other. I do want to just call attention to the fact that Sean is one of the mods on the New Metal Reddit, so go there. This will be posted there too. So yeah, go if you don't follow the New Metal subreddit, get there now and follow it.
We are unofficially the friendliest subreddit on Reddit, and just come up, hang out, just learn some new bands and listen to some recommendations and podcasts that are on there, and we welcome all.
Yeah, we appreciate you giving us a home on there too. I mean, we're probably not as active as we should be, but we do contribute in a different way with the podcast. So
Yep.
We had a weird moment happen recently where the Deftones subreddit shut down because a hip hop artist sampled them in a song, and then their fans flocked to the subreddit and just caused complete mayhem.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden our numbers like started like increasing, and we're like, what's happening? And then all of a sudden the people start posting like, what happened to the Deftones subreddit? And I'm like, oh, okay, I see what's happening. Luckily it didn't bleed over to us, like the chaos. They're back online now. Everything's fine. But at first I was just like, well, you don't know where it's coming from. You don't understand, like,
yeah.
until like eventually down the road, you're just kind of like, oh, that's what the trend was.
Right. Is this good or bad? Like,
Is this
should I
good
be
or bad?
worried?
Right? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
What fire do I have to put out?
I am
Right.
not even kidding. Like, we have a little Discord, and now you like hit up all the mods and like, something's happening. Just keep your eye out. I don't know what's going on, but just
Plug in your keyboards. We're
plug
going
in
to
your
battle.
keyboards. It's like, yeah, usually would be a good thing, but like for some reason, like I was just kind of like, huh. So yeah, but yeah, we're fun.
Can confirm the new metal subreddit is a lot of fun, and we've been in and out of there, geez, a ton in the 4.5 years as a podcast. One of the first places we were kind of welcomed with open arms with Podioslave. So we appreciate the new metal subreddit and you, Sean.
Thank you.
You wanted the worst. You got the worst. The one, the only. Limp Bizkit.
25 years. A lot's happened in 25 years, including this album being in existence. Sean, where were you at when this dropped? Where were you musically? What do you remember? Like about the rollout and lead up and all that?
So this is like TRL was king.
Oh, yeah.
For music tastes, especially when you're growing up in suburban neighborhood and you don't have like a good record store to go to. You don't really have, maybe you don't have a good, like a cousin or big brother who's kind of showing you all that stuff. The barometer that you're kind of going toward is TRL. And at the time you had Born, coming out and with all that stuff. And then you started to see Faith from Limp Bizkit. That kind of moved up the charts, but didn't go too high. But you were just like aware of them. But when Nookie dropped, like
Game changer.
Yeah.
no one didn't like it. Everybody liked it. People who didn't like that kind of music enjoyed it. And like you enjoyed it. You didn't even, sometimes maybe you didn't even want to enjoy it, but for whatever reason, you were just blasting that thing. It just was infectious. And then the video to it too, like, cause I don't think the record was out yet when Nookie came out. I think they put that out.
Yeah,
and then
I think you're right.
And then it was like number 1 on TRL, and then it was all over the radio. And I don't know about you guys, I didn't see a lot of backwards red hats in school, but
not before that.
We'll get there.
yeah. But I think someone here did have one, but it just was like you couldn't wait to get your hands on it to see what else you kind of wanted to know. What else was this guy talking about? You just wanted to hear more of it, because for everyone else that had $3 Bill, which was a little bit more of a dirtier record,
Big time.
and a little, definitely a debut in a way. It was a little bit all over the place. This was like polished. All right, now it is an upgraded Limp Bizkit. What's going to happen? And for a 16, 17-year-old at the time, you kind of wanted to get your shit fucked up by this band that didn't make any sense, with a guy who was very jockish, with Wes, who was just kind of like, avant-garde, like out there. And then you have John and Sam just kind of like, we're the rhythm, we're holding it down. We're letting those two kind of like, run the show.
Man.
Totally.
Yeah, you nailed it. Like there was a lot of hype, I remember back then, because Tony, you and I were in middle school, different middle schools, but in the same town.
Yep.
When $3 Bill Y'all dropped. And it was on my side of town. I don't know about your side of town, Joe, but my side of town, we rocked $3 Bill Y'all. We loved that record. Did you get down with it?
I remember I think my first real like brush with Limp Bizkit was the 8th grade social, which was at your middle school, but all of us were there. Both schools were together.
Yeah.
And Faith, somebody played Faith, and all of us 8th grade boys in our infinite wisdom decided to mosh in the middle of the 8th grade social.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's the kind of place we grew up in.
Yes.
But yeah, that was so raw. 3WL was so raw. It was I think I was 12, maybe even 11 when that dropped, which is crazy to even think about. I was definitely drawn to that. So they were on my radar. And then the Hype Beast, I remember, came, as you said. Like, I remember there was a making of, remember the MTV did the making of videos? They did one for Nookie, gave it a whole special.
Yeah.
And Nookie was the first song that was released.
Like a week before the record dropped, yeah.
I agree that it was polished. I think this, and we'll get into this, but I think this album is all over the place. It's completely all over the place. In fact,
it is all over the place.
Yeah. So we'll get into that. But Punchline for me, I was a fan before this. Loved it in the moment. I got it the day it came out. It was summer. It was summer before freshman year of high school. My sister drove me. I think it was the Leechmere. You guys remember Leechmere?
Oh yeah, yep.
And I got that keychain that I sent a photo to you guys. It came with it.
Probably make that'll make its way to our socials here, I'm sure too.
And the funny thing about that is that must have been like a shipping nightmare. I mean, just by adding that to the packaging, you're reducing how many you can ship. Like, who put this out? Was it Epic?
Oh, good question.
Interscope.
Interscope. Yeah, just in Flip too, right? Flip was the imprint. Yeah, just a nightmare for them. But they knew it would move. So like, whatever, guys. And I'm sure that's how they were for the whole album. Like the singles, just whatever, guys, you're on top of it. But yeah, hit me like a ton of bricks. Hit me at the right age. My goodness, if I was, well, it hit you at 17, Sean. But if I was older, I don't know if it would have hit. But it hit. It was that sweet spot. We talked about that, right? You think?
Oh yeah, because of the time frame and just how popular it was everywhere. So I think we still would have vibed with it like we did hot dog flavored water there a couple years later, right? I mean, it just we were excited for that when that came out. We were 16, 17 when that dropped. So
yeah.
As far as, and Sean, you mentioned the Red Caps. I'm a lifelong Red Sox fan. There was one thing that would cause me to buy a Yankees hat, and it was Limp Bizkit. just because I wanted to be
not Jay-Z.
Part
not
of
Jay-Z.
it. No, not at the time. I mean, now maybe, but I did. I owned a different color. I can't remember what color it was, but I owned a Yankee hat, and I was ashamed of it. But it was because I liked Limp Bizkit. It had nothing to do with the Yankees. It's like, I can't really wear this, but I kind of want to because Fred Durst is wearing it in all these fucking music videos. So why don't I do it too? So yeah, that's the one thing that would make me stray was music, and obviously this record and seeing him wear that everywhere, right?
Right.
Yeah, hit us at the right age. I think I remember getting it in North Conway. I had to text Rob to ask him because he's from that area what the name of the CD store was up in North Conway, and it was Music for Less. And I got it like right after they opened. We were up there, I don't know why, shopping or whatever. And I asked my mom to buy it for me, and she did because she was cool about stuff like that. And I remember listening to it on the whole way home, and then it never left the CD player. Like that was just what I listened to in the summer of '99 at 14, 15 years old.
Yeah.
Music for Less when it was probably $18. It was unless you bought it first week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got mine at Media Play. I don't know if you ever heard of that. It was Media Play in Wappingers, New York, Wappingers Falls, New York, and yeah, it was just like they had them on display, and just grabbed it and blasted it. And there was the other thing too is that like after it came out, there were so many kids who were pissed that they got the edited version.
They bought it at Walmart. Yeah.
They bought it at Walmart, and then I think this was around the time. I don't know if that's when it started, but their parents bought it for them or whatever, and then they didn't know, and then they would put it on and be like, "Damn it!"
So it's funny. That happened to me in this same era when I bought Korn's issues. I bought it at Newbury Comics in the old South Portland location. It was used, and the fact that it was edited was not disclosed. So I got it home. And like I forget what song, "Make Me Bad," or whatever one that drops an F-bomb. And I'm like, what I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yep.
So completely different subject, but do you remember Stabbing Westward?
Oh yeah.
And their album Darkest Days?
Not
Yeah.
particularly, but I'm following you.
So dark days, I think it was, and that's the one that has that one single that was on the radio. Not
Save yourself.
Save Yourself. It had Save Yourself on it. So I loved that song. And then when I got the album, I was just like, oh, this is great. This is like, Nine Inch Nails, like this is industrial, but it's kind of poppy. It's catchy. And I know that it sounded weird, but I didn't dawn on me. And then it took me probably 10 years to finally listen to the song on like streaming. And I realized that he swears on the album, but I never knew it. I never caught it. I had bought that album from at Walmart, completely not even knowing that like there were swears in it, and just the way the songs happen, it wasn't so he didn't like drop it like in certain songs, especially in a Limp Bizkit song. That's the emphasis, when he drops it, it's being cut. But in that album, it didn't sound like it was being cut. So me listening to it all over again, I was just like, he drops the F-bomb on that one too. Blew my mind.
Well, I mean, now we're tangenting, but back that ass up, back that thing up with Juvenile. I mean, you heard back that thing up forever, and then you get the CD and you're like, back that ass up. What? This isn't the song I've been listening to as an eighth grader.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the like flow of this album and like what they were trying to go for, aside from it being, $3 Bill felt like more of a punk album. This one felt like they were trying to, it was almost like writing a movie,
Yeah, definitely a level up in
it was
that.
a level up. They were trying to like, this was like their blockbuster. Like they were trying to hit it out of the park with this one. Yeah. It's not like Hot Dog in the way it's like a single factory, because if you listen to the whole album front to back, there are several songs on there that you're like, that doesn't fit. Well, that's weird. Yeah. That's a weird choice.
Or they mailed that in. Like Fred just was pressed to put some lyrics together, and this is what you get.
Yeah.
Or we just can't play this song on the radio. It's fucking awesome, but this song's not a radio song.
Right, yeah.
Well, break stuff.
It's true. Yeah.
That was the fourth single, right? Wasn't
that one, yeah, it was later on, yeah. And that one definitely obviously has the biggest life past the record coming out. I think that's the most spun song I think they have. So
Sean, why do you think that was? Because nu metal it has not hit its peak. It's still on the up and up, right? You got Korn, who's put out issues that year. You got Slipknot, self-titled. You got Seven Dust Home. You got a few other big ones in there, right? And this kind of catapults over all of them, and I don't know if they predicted that. I mean, I think they bring in Terry Date, this is on a major. But why do you think this was all intentional, or you think it's just the way it happened?
I think it's the way it happened, in the way that sometimes you just you have an album that is a product of its time, that speaks to a generation that is really like thirsty for something that maybe the music wasn't provided. So I think the big thing that kind of, and Matt Pinfield says this at the end of the album, but he's very much right, which is that we were being bludgeoned over the head with Britney Spears and
Backstreet
Boys and NSYNC and every other copycat version of those things. And there was no real alternative. Like you had Korn and Marilyn Manson, Nine Inch Nails,
but those were a little less like pop friendly.
It wasn't enough. It wasn't quite enough. Marilyn Manson was too strange. Nine Inch Nails was too abstract. Korn was like, those guys look weird. But here come a bunch of guys that is a little bit more goofy, a little bit more fun. And Korn's fun, of course, but Limp Bizkit's like the if you got it, you understood that there was a little bit of humor to it. You understood there was like a straightforward method that they had delivering their heavy music that was the complete antithesis to the pop movement that was happening at the time. It was really just like a lot of people just going, I don't like that. Like, I can't stand it. It's enough. I've over and over and over and over and over again. And it was still pop, but it was the like, especially on TRL, it was us versus them. You know,
Oh, totally.
Yeah,
it was like, we're like, we're angry, we're pissed off, we're being disrespected. This is bullshit. Let's break stuff. I'm not like, the girls I like don't like me, and this, like, I don't know how to express myself, and all the pretty boys and all the pretty girls are up there dancing around. Like, I need something that represents me. I need something that represents my angst, my aggression, and I can't. I have I have undirected rage. I just don't know where to point myself at. And here's a guy who's literally saying break stuff. You can't get more basic than break stuff. Right. So, and he's just out there just pretty much saying to, I'm pissed too. Like, let's just just break stuff. So I think everybody collectively was like, yeah, I'm done with all that. I need this side. And then of course there were plenty of people who enjoyed both, which was the magic of that pop era, is that you could put on shuffle, Hit Me Baby One More Time and Backstreet Back and then Nookie and then like any of those other songs. They had this pop mentality to all of it that if you shuffled a lot of those songs, you'd be like, this is my childhood. And I enjoy all of this for whatever reason. I can't be, pretentious to any of this. But at the time, especially when you're, a teenager, you needed something that was the opposite of the bullshit that was happening on.
And this was it. I mean,
this was definitely it. And then Eminem. This is Eminem.
Eminem was like the rap version of it almost,
Absolutely.
And Kid Rock. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the thing is, this is, I sound like a broken record with this shit. Context is key. This is pre-streaming. This is pre-internet, really. So This is like, I'm trying to think of an equivalent now. Like, this felt like Fight Club, right? This felt underground. This felt like you were part of a club. And the irony, you look back, it's like, well, it was on the biggest stage known to man. But the masses elevated it to that. TRL, who knows if, all those votes, if it was legit or not. Right. Who knows? Really, yeah. But at the time, it was like, yeah, we're doing this. Actually, I don't remember ever voting, but
never voted. Yeah,
never voted. But like, there was no streaming. I mean, unless you had an older sibling or someone to show you something else, this felt like the most edgy thing known to man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, especially being put on TV every afternoon. You got Hit Me Baby One More Time, Crazy, whatever with Britney Spears. You got Backstreet's Back, and then you got My Name Is, All the Small Things with Blank, and whatever, Nookie. And it was like, and they were all on majors, right? Like they're all being pushed by big money. But when we're in that age, we're just like, all right, I'm going to gravitate towards Limp. I'm going to gravitate towards Eminem. I'm going to gravitate towards Blink. Those are the things that I like on this countdown. I hope they win today. I hope they're higher up than whatever NSYNC and Backstreet Boys have come out with. Yep. That time will never be recreated. It's insane that it had us all on the edge of our seat every afternoon.
And like it was on right after school. You could just go on, watch 30 minutes to an hour of it, and be like, good, my boys won again. I'm going to go out and hang out with my friends now.
And then go listen to the record, right? You just turn the record on in the basement.
Yeah. And then if you're lost, you're like, we'll fight another day. And then the rearranged video will come out, and now we're back. Yeah.
Why are they being put in this box with milk? What's going on here?
I remember having vivid memories of watching TRL and drinking Surge.
Yeah.
That's the most new metal thing I've ever.
I almost equate Limp Bizkit in this era to like Surge. Like, Mountain Dew existed, Korn existed, but fucking Surge was on another level. And like, this was before all like the boutique soda shops, like now, like you can, go on Spotify, you can find the most abstract band known to man at your fingertips. But in that moment, Surge was it was the wildest thing. And that was Limp Bizkit.
Surge, remember that Surge commercial?
No.
So
maybe,
it's a classroom. The Surge commercial, the first Surge commercial, And this was in my core memory of like, well, now I have to drink this. As it's a classroom, and it's a bunch of empty chairs, and on either, I think there's a surge bottle in the middle or a surge bottle at the end of the classroom, and then someone goes surge, and they all slow motion just start running and crashing through the chairs to get the bottle of surge, and then it's just like, surge. And I'm like, that's insane.
And then you're
Yeah.
in.
That's insane. I need a bottle of surge, and then like, you know, of course, the hometown deli, which is what my hometown deli was called, had him in there, and it might as well have been packaged with significant other at that point.
Well, and we right across the street from the middle school that I went to, pizza joint, rest in peace. Serge, slice of pizza, 2:30. Walk over to a friend's house. Let's watch TRL with our Serge and our slice of pizza, and
Yeah.
let's see how Nookie did today. Let's see how rearranged or whatever did today.
Yeah.
You ready for this? The convenience store across from my middle school, it was a hockey themed one it was like for a year.
I remember
called
that place.
The Penalty Box Cafe. And you could get a can of Surge for $0.25 in middle school.
Oh, dude,
You walk down there,
we're so old.
you get a can of Surge, and then go to basketball practice. You just make sure you hydrate.
Yeah, breakfast of champions. That's great.
But yeah, so Nookie takes TRL by storm, and if you're on TRL, you're moving units. And this album moved units. I looked it up. First week, it did 643,000 copies sold. It went gold the first week, and then the second week, 335,000 copies. So in the first 2 weeks, this thing goes platinum.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, they expanded beyond our demo, right?
Yeah.
In the
were
13
everywhere, yeah.
to 18 range. They were everywhere. And even off Nookie. Like it was from the jump, because the other singles hadn't come out yet. I mean, Rearranged came out in October that year. Granted, you could still listen to it on the record. And then In Together was November. And then Break Stuff was May, almost a year later.
And like that was, which is funny because I feel like Rearrange and End Together now were mild successes in the way that like singles were. Like they were weird, because Rearrange is a kind of a unusual song for Limp Bizkit. It's more like, seems like a more mature song for them.
Totally didn't really fit the record.
Didn't fit the record. And then Together
Not
was
at
just kind of like, I love Wu-Tang, watch this. And then Break Stuff was 100% Limp Bizkit. And then that brought them back. I'm interested to see what the sales were when May came around, and what people were like,
Ooh, yeah.
whoa.
Well, because it ended up going 7 times platinum. So I think the answer to your question is it went fucking through the roof.
yeah. Can we talk about the guest vocals?
Yes,
There's a bunch of them. Right?
Bunch
There's a bunch of them.
and
bunch
ones that I
of-
forgot were there.
Yeah, and ones that we like. I haven't even heard the song yet. The "Don't Go Wandering" with Surge.
I remember talking about this a long time ago. It could have been through the pod. It may have been even at a different time. That's one of my favorite songs on the record, and you really have to dig for him, because
Wait,
like
who's
I
on
listened to Surge.
From System
On that song?
Yeah,
on the
Oh.
demo version.
Okay. I was
So
going to
you
say,
gotta,
'cause I
like,
don't remember
YouTube
seeing the
it.
credits.
it's not on the. It's not. Yeah, it's not on the record. The
Yeah.
record
Oh,
version
wow.
is without him. But like that, if you get to dig to find that, and that version's cool. It's been a long time since I've heard it, but that another huge band in the moment, and they hadn't quite had their moment yet. It's coming, but to hear him on there, and then you got Jonathan Davis, and you've got Scott Weiland, and you've got
Yep.
Method Man, and you've got
Aaron Lewis.
and Matt Pinfield. He's not obviously not a musician, but he was a big deal at the time.
Yeah.
And he's in the Rearranged video as the judge. Like, there's just people everywhere.
So I didn't know until today that Aaron Lewis was on No Sex.
Yeah, a few days ago, I listened to it again. I was just like, oh yeah, remember that? But I don't think I knew who Aaron Lewis was at the time. I don't think that Stained. When did Dysfunction come out?
99.
Yeah, right around the same time, right?
Oh yeah, around the same time.
And then that led to, I'm really feeling those ladders.
Yeah, right. The family
Oh,
values.
no.
And
I'm on the outside.
Outside, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Dysfunction was out. Mud Shovel was probably popping. But you're right. He was not the Aaron Lewis that everyone knows today. And
No.
no, certainly not.
certainly not.
Yeah.
I forgot Jonathan Davis was on this record. So I'm listening to Nobody Like You, and I'm like, all right, that's obviously John Davis. And then I had remembered Weiland in there. And there was like I remember there was like a grunge. It almost sounds like Who sings No Rain?
Blind Melon.
Blind Melon. It almost sounds like
Shannon. Yep.
yeah, almost sounds like Blind Melon.
That the Wyland part, totally. And
Yep.
it's
Does,
funny
yeah.
listening to that song again. In prep for this, I was just thinking to myself, this is where STP kind of was going and could have gone a little more, I think, but didn't. And Wyland had his struggles. Obviously, we know that all of that, and did the Velvet Revolver thing too, not long after her, right around that time. But could have totally gone more nu metal because of hearing him on these Limp Bizkit songs. You turn them just a little bit and feature Wyland a little more, you have an STP song. They fit kind of in that world too. And I hadn't thought of it that way until, doing this exercise again. And that's the best part about doing it, right? Is thinking of new things and coming up with new ideas around a record you've listened to 1,000 times or 15,000
Right.
times.
It makes you wonder if Scott was kind of getting sick of being so serious with everything.
Yep.
And he was just like, I just want to have some fun and create songs that like I can have fun singing. Like, it's interesting to see like what in the multiverse, like what was Scott STP as a new metal band. Like if they put out like a Machine Head did like a couple new metal records, like what would be an STP new metal record? What would it sound like?
I think that would have been a lot of fun. I'm obviously bummed that never happened. And we get some other cool stuff from Wyland in that time, and the Velvet Revolver record's pretty cool, but
Yeah.
it's different, right? It's not in the vein of this.
Yeah.
Well, that shows you the moment that it was having. It was undeniable because when this had its moment, you just said Machine Head, you had Slayer put out a new metal record, you had Sepultura put out new metal records, and it was undeniable. So it was either you get on that train or I don't know if I could name many other non-nu metal albums that were popping, non-nu metal albums that were popping in the late 90s. Because I mean, this was my world, so I naturally wouldn't. And I was 13, so like I don't have the internet.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, I
barely
think,
have it.
Yeah, you barely have it. Like I think we had AOL. We had AOL in middle school, but Tony was a Prodigy guy. He had Prodigy. Yeah.
No, I did have a friend who had CompuServe, but we had AOL.
I had AOL too. Yeah. I had the discs and everything like that. But yeah, I don't think I was able to even do anything with it, really. Like
Just chat rooms.
I think just
You
chat
download
rooms,
a song overnight.
maybe download a song overnight. That's really it. Yeah. So like by this time, you're right. Like you really only had, this was TRL, the radio, MTV. That was your platform. Things now, like music videos now too, like nothing's censored. Everything's already there because it's all through YouTube. There's no that. I mean, maybe there's VH1 and an MTV channel right now, but who is watching that?
Right.
So at that time, knowing that you had literally one spot to show you these videos, aside from like if you were like maybe into skate videos and you were watching punk videos on VHS or whatever that you got at the skate shop. This for most of America or most of the world, you're primarily watching it through this method.
Man, this was again outside of maybe Beavis and Butthead music video snippets. Like this and the Slipknot album were like the raw shit.
Yeah.
Limp Bizkit and Slipknot was like the raw shit. Absolutely. Yeah, I think the features are well done. The interesting thing about Method Man is like Wu-Tang's Forever was just a couple years before this. So like Wu-Tang was popping,
Yep.
And it works. And then they bring him back. I think they bring back him and Redman for the Urban Assault vehicle, the Rollin' remix,
Yeah.
don't they?
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
is a little caricature of and together now, but yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. I mean, especially obviously getting into Eminem around the time too, and liking hip hop, having this kind of put it together for us. And they're all friends. Like Eminem's in the Break Stuff video. Like they all know who they are at this point, right? They're all camping off each other to get people under the tent. So, and nu metal did a very good job of that, I would say. Of all the genres, they're like, hey, everybody's welcome, come hang out, which we've talked about before with you, Sean. It's a place that we all fit. That's why we all loved it.
Right. And I think it's more people are understanding that that's what it is anyway. And I think that's why, not to, talk more about the community, but I think that's why the community is so friendly, is because it's a genre that's been beat down, because it got so popular at the time, and then it was made fun of, and then when now is with this slight resurgence, I wouldn't say it's a big resurgence, but it's slight resurgence. There's this kind of like, you're letting your guard down. You're letting yourself be vulnerable to criticism, and you're going, yeah, you may not like it, but I really don't care. Like, this is great. And think about how break stuff, if you put on break stuff for anybody, punk kid, a hardcore kid, person who likes pop music or whatever, you can't argue that it is just a blast to listen to.
Oh yeah,
They all know it.
Yeah.
Break stuff, chop suey. Like there's a few in that kind of new metal Rushmore that everyone knows the lyrics. And it's funny, Tony, we talked about Fall Out Boy last couple of weeks, whatever. You've never intentionally listened to them, really, but
Right.
you know all the lyrics. It's the
Right.
same way with break stuff. Everyone knows lyrics of break stuff.
And chop suey, and yeah, same idea, right? And
Yeah.
a big piece of that is the accessibility of that genre of new metal. We're talking about new metal, and the fact that the songs they're just timeless. Like that everybody has felt break stuff, right? We've all been there, so that's
Yep.
the reason it resonates, and is still resonating 25 years later. 25 years later.
So when I listened to this, so we decided we were going to do this, 5 days ago? Maybe
Yeah.
a week, we'll say, a week ago. Listened to it quite a bit. And one thing that I forgot about this record is the range of it, right? You have rearranged, you got break stuff, there's stuff all over the map, you got features, etc. But I think the probably the standout track in the range category, like the whole discussion, is Rearranged. And I was thinking, like, did we see this coming? Did we see it? So I listened back to $3 Bill Y'all to see if there's like little breadcrumbs, right? And kind of like on Sour. I don't know if you guys remember Sour from $3 Bill Y'all. There's that kind of singing chorus, and then the last track is Everything, which is, I think it's just instrumental. So you knew they had it in them. But I never saw Rearranged coming, and that was the second single. So they go from Nookie to this. So if you're a old Limp Bizkit head, you're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, what the hell is this?
But it brought more. Yeah, to your question, like I bet they saw a flood of sales in late '99 because Rearranged dropped as a single in October.
And it was different, right? It was different than anything they had done, like you said, and it had a little more mature vibe. The video was very, like, everybody jokes about the milk, right? But at the same time, it was, everybody blamed them for Woodstock, and they're on trial for it, and then they get, the gas chamber or whatever, the milk chamber to end it. So pretty wild kind of concept. They were aware of what was going on around them in the discourse, on top of the fact that they were just a massive band at the time. So put something out that maybe bring more people under the tent.
All right, we got a real-time fact checker here. It went gold in August of '99. It went platinum also in August, as we said. 3 times platinum in August. So within 2-3 months, it went 3 times platinum. October the same year, 4 times. December the same year, 5 times. 6 times in 2000, and then another platinum, 7 times platinum, September 2001. So when
who's the guy buying it in September of 01?
And how hasn't it sold
how have you not
another
heard it
million
yet?
since?
Like, it's already been a year, just kind of like,
All right, fine, I'll go buy it. You guys broke me down 2 years later. I'm gonna go buy it.
Yeah, that's funny because the last single came out in May 2000. So it was a year and a half later. It was you. You didn't buy it week of, Tony.
I didn't buy a week of, but I got it the summer of '99, so probably early August.
Who did they tour with during this time?
Anger Management was I think in 2000. Eminem, Papa Roach.
Yeah.
Okay,
That was the infamous. I think Eminem had the chainsaw mask.
Yep.
Yeah.
gotcha.
And they were Family Values before all that, right?
Family Values was when they had $3
Right
Billy
before this, yeah.
And then when was Summer Sanitarium?
0102, 0203,
Yeah.
something like that, yeah.
So they opened for Metallica with this album.
This and probably Hot Dog Flavored Water. I'd have to look it
when
up.
was the
but-
Summer Sanitarium?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Linkin Park was on that too, right? Summer
I think
Sanitarium.
Deftones too.
I think if Nate was here, he'd say yes because I think Nate went to it. So
It was the one we're thinking of is 03.
that makes sense.
Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, Deftones, Mudvayne, Metallica.
What a fucking bill. Jesus.
Wow.
And there was one in 2000 with Korn, Kid Rock, PM 5K, System of a Down.
Well, watching I watched like half of the Woodstock set today just because I had time, and Joe C hanging out next to John Otto while he's playing drums. So Kid Rock's Joe C,
Yeah.
little guy.
Oh yeah, Josie. Yeah.
4'10" with the
Yeah, 3'10". Yeah,
3'10".
rest in
Yeah,
peace.
yeah.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
I think he passed away.
Have you guys looked at the ratings for this album on Wikipedia?
I didn't. I think I saw like a section on it, but I didn't.
It's
Dig
the
into it.
definition of love and hate because a lot of them are 4 out of 5 stars, but there are 2 or 3 on there that are like 1 star, a 3 out of 10. Like they're just like, I don't get it, you know. But Rolling Stone and the Independent and LA Times, all of them were just like, I mean, I'm wondering because like, okay, so we were younger, right? And we didn't give a shit about what critics thought. You know, there was no Metacritic, there was no Pitchfork, there was nothing that kind of like no podcast or anything that was reviewing these things. You maybe had Rolling Stone, like if you cared about that sort of thing, but that was about it. I'm really curious, and I wish I had gone back and did it and read it, like what critics thought at the time of this movement of things, because there had to have been some divisiveness of just kind of like this is trash, and then others going like, you know what, maybe this is we need a little bit of this because right now what's happening is there's this oversaturation of this other type of music. Maybe we need a little bit of whatever this is.
I think unless you came from the metal world, you were shitting on this because the type of people that are music critics by nature tend to shit on anything that they either don't understand or don't get, and they're older, right? They're generally
So a new thing is bubbling up that they just don't understand, right?
Don't understand, and they're, you know, if you're doing that in the late 90s, chances are you're at least 25 and much older, I'm sure.
Probably older than that.
But there's also no kind of benchmark. I mean, who do you compare it to? I mean, this is a whole new thing, you know.
The only thing you really can compare it to is that, like, if you're a critic who's probably been around for like 20 or so years, and you've seen the rise of hair metal, which was the, you know,
equivalent,
the equivalent to that, they're going like, this is freaking Motley Crue all over again. And
I think you're right, Sean. I never even thought of that really, because that, and in fact, that died almost 10 years. New metal died almost 10 years later. You know?
And like I think it attracted the same people that they were just like, I mean, it didn't really, like, of course there was a lot of, you know, you had so many people. I mean, what was it? Would you say 7 times platinum?
Yep.
So many people bought that album, you know, not all of them weren't complete assholes, but
I was one of them.
But when you think of like hair metal and new metal, like both of them kind of attracted, you know, the type of people that were being spotlighted on things like Woodstock 99, you know?
Yeah.
And then because it was so popular, you were seeing a lot of this debauchery and assholeness come to light on live television.
Totally.
Yeah. And that's and Durst got a lot of criticism in that era, but how else should he have acted, or would you have acted? You know what I mean? You're put on this pedestal, you're getting real-time feedback that the more bizarre and outlandish shit sells. You know,
what
you're
you're doing is
edgier,
working, right?
You're edgier than ever. You put out break stuff. You probably wrote that song in a day, and it's the biggest thing going. So if that's me, I'm gonna lean into that. The checks keep
Well,
coming.
it was funny because do you guys watch? I forget which one it was. I think it was the Netflix.
I watched the Netflix one. I did not watch the HBO one because, as someone who grew up in the era, didn't go to 99, but grew up in the era, know the music, know most of the players, I didn't want to be told that everything that I grew up with was shit.
Well, that was the thing. The Netflix one respects that time. It respects of like it is a perfect perspective of what happened. It shows the organizers were out of touch. They, if they really wanted a good Woodstock, they would have had Dave Matthews and Counting Crows and Alanis Morissette, and they would have leaned into that way more and had a much more of a calmer environment. But they went like, that one guy was like, this is the most popular music right now. Like, look at the albums that are selling. We'll be fine. And it was one of the guys said, like, you can't be angry at the lion when you bring the lion to the birthday party.
And then don't give the lion water or bathrooms or food.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, and then that's what happened.
Now, that's not to excuse anybody's shitty behavior there. Like, there was plenty of people who were assholes. But you go to any festival, you're going to run into assholes, you're going to run into good people, and you're going to run into the people in the middle. Like, that's just what happens at every event. But, again, I'm not apologizing for people who did shit that they shouldn't have done, but I wouldn't blame Limp Bizkit for it. You know what I mean? Like, you can't blame the
They
people
were there,
on stage.
them and Korn and everyone else were there to do a job. And if you see those videos, you're like, they did a damn good job.
Absolutely.
And then the crowd responded. So, yeah. And then you watch like those, I mean, holy cow. Like, look what happened a few months ago. I think it was Chile or something like that. Limp Bizkit played. And it almost looks exactly the same.
People still dig it, man.
They did break stuff, and that crowd looks like a tidal wave. Just like a wave pool or whatever. You're like, holy shit.
And we didn't hear about how that was the worst thing ever because there was water and bathrooms.
Yeah.
We did the food for people, even if it's expensive. You know that going in, like you're not charging $35 for a bottle of water and a T-shirt, like.
Yeah.
So this makes me think. So it's been 25 years. They're touring. They've been touring a lot last few years. They're not bigger than ever, but they're playing these sold out shows. I thought about this today in that, they put out the Still Sucks album, right? So you know that they're at least aware of the criticism. Obviously they're aware. But then it didn't hit me until recently that they're in on the joke as well. So in the moment, was it all just a big charade, you think?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think,
were they just paid actors?
I mean, aren't everybody in that kind of world, aren't they all a little bit to an extent? They have to know, most of them probably know that going in. If you're trying, especially if you're trying to do what they did, you're going to be this big, like you got to know you're going to do some weird shit and you're going to be looked at a certain way and you just got to kind of live with it.
Well, Chocolate Starfish, they're 100% in on it. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, that's the second time I've done that on this podcast.
It's true.
But for significant, I don't know.
Well, I think, you can definitely tell the first album, they're trying to make art.
Yes.
They want to be relevant. They wanted their respect for the music that they're making. They have their influences. You can hear it. But this one, I think this might have been the beginning of the act, where all their personalities are now defined, and then it shaped what would be Chocolate Starfish, which is kind of like, this is who we. The world has already defined us, so we're gonna play these roles because it's making us money. And honestly, I don't know how much longer this is going to last.
Right.
Like, any moment now, this could all end. So let's just keep being ourselves a little bit and lean into this and see how far it takes us. The people that hate us, they're not paying us. Like,
and that's not going to change either. Nothing we can do is going to change that. Yeah. No.
So which is funny why, like, the further the albums went, like with like Results May Vary and Gold Cobra and all that, like those are the albums I want to know. What were you thinking? I definitely know what they were thinking with Significant and Chocolate Starfish. I completely understand that trajectory. But then afterwards, when the fandom died down, what were their decisions? They probably knew that they weren't going to make, 6 times platinum again.
Right.
So at this point, what were they going to do? They may have lost respect from some of their peers or people who didn't like them. Were they going to lean into a more artistic route, or were they going to continue to play the characters. And like there had to be a little bit of disagreement and confusion as to like how they fit in anymore.
Well, I think take Rivers and John Otto. Like in most cases, the bassist and drum, like they're just there to play. You know what I mean? Not a ton changes for them based on the direction they go. Right? Otto's still going to hit the drums as hard as he can. Sam's got funky bass lines.
Yep.
And I don't know that they leaned into characters much, but Wes and Fred were.
They did. Those two guys did.
Those two did.
And then Wes left a few years. Didn't he leave after Results or before Results?
It's a good question.
I think. Well, I know that Mike Smith from Snot joined, and I think that was like maybe it was after. Yep, it was. Mike Smith took over from Snot, and then I don't know when Wes came back. But
oh yeah, because so Wes was not on Results, and that was like the feedback is
come
like
back on Gold Cobra.
Unquestionable Truth.
Okay, yeah. Speaking of Gold Cobra, you brought it up, Sean. Anthony, when you were listening to $3 Bill, did you hear Gold Cobra coming down the line? Were there breadcrumbs for that?
There were stair steps. That. No, yeah. I knew Still Sucks was coming.
Yeah,
for sure.
Totally, yeah. I just love the Gold Cobra video where Fred's wearing a Rajon Rondo jersey. As a Celtics fan, I'm all in on that.
What other observations do you have? So, like, we've all lived with this record for 25 years. I'll be honest with you, before this week, I don't know the last time that I actually put the record on, like the record. Yeah, I've heard Break stuff a million times since then, but it's probably been at least a decade since I put it on. So, for me, it was like the range of the album. As almost 40-year-old, I appreciate some lyrics more than I did back in the day. But at the same time, there's some that I just acknowledge or throw away, right? Where maybe back then I thought they were funny, and now it's just like, eh. What else do you guys observe?
I mean, for me, the first half of the album is a blast to listen to, and then the last half, you're just kind of like, you're almost annoyed a little bit, where you're just kind of like, I don't think I need to come back to No Sex,
Yeah.
That's a skipper for me. That's a skip. I think it was a skip back then, and listening back to it for this, I was like, yeah, that one. That one's a mess.
Yeah. And I think like like the 1, 2, like 3 punch of just like this, Nookie, break stuff, rearranged, like, and then Nobody Like You is a great song.
Hey, I don't skip I'm Broke. Dun, dun, dun,
no,
dun,
I
dun.
love I'm Broke. It's ridiculous.
It's the laziest riff ever.
Yeah. But like those, like that first half of the album is just is incredible.
Right through 1999.
Yeah.
And together, really, right through and together. It was the first 10 songs. I don't think there's really a skip on there.
Yeah,
so
true.
I like Trust because they bring back some of the edginess, right? And Fred is,
I would have said Trust was a song you liked. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. There's an edge to that one. And Fred is, he channels some of $3 Bill, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
And the high pitch Fred, that wasn't there on $3. Does it come in here on this album?
I don't know.
If it does,
it's Lewiston, Maine. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, yeah. He does it in Lewiston, Maine.
Yeah.
Well, so, I'm okay with it.
But yeah, I mean, you go down the list. I'm skipping No Sex, and maybe that's it. And I'm not listening to Show Me What You Got. Really, I mean, you hear.
I do like that one, but yeah, I'm with you. My favorite back half is 1999. That might be my favorite song on the record. It's I just love that. Let's make something out of it. This worldwide we collide. This is how we communicate. Like I'm in that, especially as a 15, 16-year-old. That's what it feels like at concerts.
This guy gets it. Like we should all just like get along,
just
man.
Run into each other, man, in a pit, and then pick each other up, and we had a blast.
Well, I just was kind of skimming it in the background here. The instruments remind me of $3.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then you get the little scratching, and then you get the Ken Shamrock talk, which is always fun to me, especially during that time. I mean, that's right in the middle of the Attitude Era for WWE. It's great. I love that song. That song's fucking awesome. You want to be down with the G-Shock? Fuck the glam rock. Ass out like Ken Shamrock.
Oh my god,
I can do it all night.
That song, I remember loving it back then, and that was a standout. Listening back to it.
Yeah.
All right, so 25 years later, does it still hit like it did back in the day?
So for me, nostalgia wise, yes, it does. But it also got me thinking, what is 2024's significant other?
I don't know, but I like that question.
I know, I have to think about that.
But you know how you're talking about a few things. You're talking about commercial success, cultural impact, and then just the overall obnoxiousness of it. And because Limp Bizkit, what the reason so many people gravitated toward it is because it was obnoxious in a way that wasn't annoying for a lot of people.
A way that was fun.
In a way that was fun. So who embodies that? What embodies that? And I feel like there's a lot of like maybe hip hop right now that maybe does that. And I don't know what maybe like a 30 or 40-year-old was thinking when they were listening, they heard this stuff. But I can tell you right now, if any of us were to listen to something that 14 and 15-year-olds are listening to right now and are obsessed with, would we get it?
Probably not.
And do we
No.
really know what the significant other is right now? I don't know if we do.
I would have
Yeah,
to
probably
point to something hip hop, something that's. I mean, I don't think mumble rap is, on top like it used to be, but I almost equate it to something like that where it had a moment, right,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of is gone faster than it came.
There isn't much that can do that anymore. Have the moment that this had. Like
No,
you have a moment, but it's very brief now. Where this had
it's
a
shorter.
4-year
Yeah.
moment. Like this record and then the next one, they blew up for 4 or 5 years and then it went away. Now it's 3 months,
Yeah,
6
it
months
happens
if you're lucky. Like it's great.
so quickly that you can't lock it down. The next thing happens and pushes it out of the way so quickly that it really came down to the fact that we could enjoy this. I mean, shoot, these music videos came out like so far apart, like, and with break stuff coming out in 2000, like it spoke to the longevity of this record and the reason why probably so many people still kind of return to it. I don't know if the current media landscape can support that.
Yeah, I don't think it can.
And the attention spans of everybody, I don't know if it,
No.
I don't know if it, maybe this was just around the end of the time where this sort of thing could happen anymore.
I think that's exactly the point. I think there's no, you get to about the middle 2000s when the industry collapses and there's not a lot of money there anymore and there's not a lot of promotion around records the way that there was at the late 90s and 2000-ish, and you just can't do it like that anymore. And now everybody's attention is so fleeting, you just don't have a chance to keep the people paying attention to whatever you're doing for more than 3 months, 6 months.
Yeah,
I agree. The mid 2000s was the last hurrah, I think, for the multi-year thing.
Yeah,
because you had the bands, you had kind of the third wave, second wave emo stuff, whatever you want to call it. And now, yeah, you're right. I couldn't tell you even what I know it's not a 3 or 4 year moment, but even what's like a 6-month moment right now. And you know what? That moment, it'll have that 6 months, and that's the end of it. There will be no 25-year resurgence. There'll be no When We Were Young. There'll be no Sick New World for a lot of the stuff happening now.
That's
There won't
sad.
be.
That's a sad. You're right, but that's sad.
yeah.
There'll be no Podioslave people like podcast 20 years from now talking about.
Remember that? No, I don't remember that. Oh, yeah.
No,
Like,
you're right. It
not,
happened so fast. It went away.
Yeah, that guy. I don't know what that guy's doing anymore. Yeah, weird. That is true.
It's sad. I mean, there's one artist that might have that from right now, and it's Taylor Swift, unfortunately. But I just don't know that we will ever see artists and bands and anything have the moment that the new metal had at the end of the 90s, early 2000s, and really pop punk at that time and boy bands at that time. All that stuff had staying power because that's the way the industry was built. But now there's just no doing it, which is sad.
Yeah, you said something, Sean, which is the nostalgic part of me loves this record. I mean, honestly, it's no accident I haven't listened to it in a decade. My interests are different. But when I revisit it, the imagery's awesome. Look at that album cover. Amazing. From a suburban nerd from Maine, and I see that with the graffiti and the logo and all that, I'm in. The songs were edgy, hit us at the right time. It was an us versus them thing with the TRL. You stack all that, anger management tour, summer sanitarium. Like, I'm in. I'm so in. And yeah, it scratched that itch then. And it's one of 6 records that I have a platinum record for. So that should tell you something.
Yeah, holds a special place in all of our hearts.
Special.
Yeah, we wouldn't. I don't think we'd be here doing this today about any music if not for records like this. So happy to be able to chop it up with you boys about Significant Other for an hour.
And we'll do it again for 50 years.
And again,
No.
oh man,
50 years.
I can't
50
even
years.
imagine.
Yeah. 75 talking about this album. But
Wouldn't that be something if we were?
I'll do it. Who gives a shit? Like,
Well, Sean, if we're all still around in 25 years, let's fucking do it.
let's fucking do it. It's a date. I'll put it on my Google Calendar. I'll have to scroll through those months a lot.
Maybe there'll be something else. Maybe it won't even be Google Calendar at that point. It could be
I know,
something
right?
completely different.
It'll just be in my head. It's just like it'll be a notification, just holograms out of my eye, and it's just gonna play break stuff. I'm like, yes.
So hey, if you were here from the Anne Berlin episode, the Set Your Goals episode, the 4 Year Strong episode, I'm glad you stuck around for this one. We hasn't been recorded yet, but another interview on the way next week. Fingers crossed. And we'll be back next week. Sean, thanks for hanging with us. Appreciate it. Tone, thanks for holding it down last week with Rob.
Yeah, and check the show notes for ways to follow Sean, and check out the Nu Metal subreddit as well.
All right, thanks, guys.
See ya.
Peace, Bloodheads.
You wanted the best, then go get the fucking Backstreet Boys CD. 'Cause in this house, it's them, motherfucking Bizkit.
Thank you for listening to Podioslave. We are at Podioslave on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of the places that you can find us on social media. Facebook, Podioslave Podcast, YouTube, Podioslave Podcast there. Email us at podioslavepodcast@gmail.com. And hey, if you want to become a supporter, click on the link at the bottom of the episode and give us $1, give us $5. It keeps the lights on, keeps us going. We really appreciate that stuff. Thank you.